Well, hey there, folks. Good afternoon. John Duffin here, Duffin Media, Duffin Coaching. Welcome to the week. It's happy Monday to you. If you are celebrating, honoring Yom Kippur, I hope you have a peaceful, easy fast. And anyone who's on this call today with me, I honor all of you. So, folks, welcome aboard. If you're watching on Facebook, welcome. If you're watching on LinkedIn, welcome. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome, welcome. Lastly, if you're watching the replay, that's great too. Folks, here's the deal, and it's kind of cool in the sense that these tips, right off the bat, I'll share with you what I get to do. Again, I'm John Duffin. I'm with Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. What I'm delivering is 3 of my top tips to help you optimize your communications by leveraging your voice. That's what it's all about. Anyone joining me on any of the platforms, drop a comment. I get to see live most of the comments, not all. So if I don't acknowledge you live and you were here live and you comment, I promise you I will get to it immediately after the call. But I'm going to share right off the bat. Look, I am really excited today because you know what we get to do? It's Monday, right? And so what day it is? Any day. It's a great day to pump up the volume, right? Pump up the volume. I was going to play that song, but then when it goes to YouTube, they get weird because it's not mine, and I'm certainly not going to sing the song to you. There's no chance I want to literally get people to run away. But what is this all about? Pumping up the volume, right? Look, in a speaking situation, we are always in positions where we are speaking one-on-one, small group, a large group, a theater or an auditorium, live, on the phone, or on Zoom. What I'm sharing today is 3 tips, probably more, but 3 tips that I know I'm going to deliver where you can use these on any of those platforms. And I'm going to remind everybody how important it is, right? So right off the bat, I want to get to a situation. Let's see if I can do this correctly here, right? So we'll see if I get it right. I'm going to come back to the solution in a moment. I'm going to start with a situation, right? Volume is great. I'll lay out all the background stuff in a minute. But let me ask you a question here. Has anyone been on a call, been in a room where they couldn't hear what was being said? I'm going to give you 2 options. By the way, I'm going to give you a very specific situation of what happened to me and another situation from literally a couple of days ago where I was an observer of a situation. So, folks, these things happen all the time. Let me ask you a question. Anyone who's here, pipe in as you're going live. Here's a question. Have you ever been in a room where you couldn't hear the person speaking for whatever reason? Let me give you a very specific example of that situation, right? So let me demonstrate. How many times have you been on a Zoom call where you couldn't hear the volume? Zoom or any streaming platform, it's almost a rite of passage that someone has to jump in and say, John, can't hear you. It happens a lot. So right off the bat, keep those thoughts in mind that tech is part of it, but sometimes it's pure volume. Have you ever been on a Zoom call specifically? And let me demonstrate. Are listening to someone and they're all scrunched up on their computer and they're trying to convey a point and they're trying to be heard, and you're like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Sorry, I just can't hear you. I'm going to tell you something. One of the biggest problems of not being heard, whether it is Zoom, whether it is someone just all scrunched up physically, or whether it is bad acoustics in a live setting, it's brutal to get your intended message heard. Here's the situation right off the bat, right? So, the solution. Well, let's give you the situation first. Situation. I'm at an event last week. It was beautiful. Philadelphia Ad Club event. Absolutely fantastic. If anyone is watching or listening to this live or on replay, it was a killer event. So much fun. The energy was incredible. And then it was time for a brief speaking moment. And I think this speaking moment, by the way, did you hear me? I think, no pun intended, I think the speaking moment was 5 minutes. Why? The acoustics in the room were rough, big industrial, high ceilings. 2, a lot of people really excited to see each other. So the talking is relentless. Nobody's trying to be blatantly rude, but the acoustics are going. The people are chatting, and the speakers, there were 2, literally cannot be heard. Cannot be heard. I know both of these people. They're magnificent speakers, both of them. And you could not hear them. You could not hear them. So then it just stops. They just either gave up or shortened their speech or whatever, and off they went. You want a solution? Here's one for you. If you are not being heard, whether it is too loud in the room around you, people are distracted with other things, or you physically are too quiet, the tip, as I call it, is called water the plants. Now, I've used this before. Water the plants has to do with finding either the friendly faces or the people that you know, whether it's in a conference room, a board meeting, a couple of people. The fact of the matter is, when you water the plants, you're literally checking on a few people. You could use hand signals. Here's a solution that came to me. My cousin Diane helped me at the first wedding that I ever gave a reading to. I am crazy about this tip because it worked and I didn't know it at the time. I had to give a reading. There was a lot of people. I went to my cousin Diane, who I love to death, and I said to her, can you just help me? I'm going to look at you every so often. And if the volume of my voice is either too much, too little, just right, well, I want you to let me know and I'll regulate accordingly. So I'm doing the reading and I keep looking over at my cousin Diane. Every once in a while, I look over and she's got on her chest, literally, hand signals. And I'm following her hand signals. And I'm able to regulate the volume so I could be heard, okay? If there's someone in the room, literally ask them, can you hear me okay? What can happen when you're not heard? You're in a business setting. You're trying to ask for something, whether it's asking for appreciation, gratitude, whether it is delivering a client message, whether it is delivering a proposed solution. When someone doesn't hear you, what can happen? What's the risk? Well, sometimes it's evident. Sometimes the risk is, well, they can't hear you. They can't do anything about it. Here's the second risk. If they hear you poorly and you're all scrunched up and trying to solve and be either, intimate or shy, people will hear that as possible shyness, doubt, insecurity, or inexperience in a professional speaking setting. So it's really important to know that you are speaking loudly and clearly enough, right? Because that soft tone is great to use in pieces. But delivering entire presentations like this, people check out. People literally check out, okay? Hey, here's a bonus tip for you, by the way. For anyone that's here, give a wave, put a note in the comments, drop me a note. if anyone has spoken to an audience before, this is a big tip. By the way, I'm not always great at this. We're all works in progress. Here's your bonus tip. You can help the speaker. Okay. So that night that I told you about last week with the ad club, the situation where I got to speak at a real producers event. I was the hired speaker, host and MC. Thank you, Josh and Beth, and anyone who was there that night for the Bucks County Real Producers Awards Derby Gala. I got to be the host and MC. As the event is going on and they're giving out awards, the audience in the back is getting louder and louder. Couple things. People's attention spans tend to diminish, especially after a few drinks, and they're seeing all their pals that they haven't seen in a while. So they are and excited, and they're snapping selfies in the back. So it's going to lead us to our next situation, right? Paul Espinosa, good morning, buddy. Welcome to the room. Thrilled to have you here, man, and I'm grateful that you're here. Paul is a public speaker. I'm a massive fan of Paul. Speaks in the education circuit, in the California circuit, and has one hell of a story to tell, and is a great follow on Instagram. You're looking at Paul Damascus, by the way, on Instagram. So the fact of the matter is, Paul, I'm thrilled that you're here. Didn't mean to embarrass you and single you out. I hope that's okay. But what was I about to say? So, that's right. In terms of the pump up the volume. Listen, sometimes, as we talked about with the solution of reading the room, right? Here's what I'm going to suggest at this point. In terms of the volume, have someone around you. But here's the other one. By the way, it's going to sound like the exact opposite because it is. What if you're too loud? So I'll share from me. I have a loud speaking voice, of which no one typically needs to be told that when they've ever heard me. My best friend, Pete Bernard, business pro. If you're watching this, I love you. And I actually filmed a couple of your plants for my slide there. Pete Bernard is the one, when I told him one day, oh my God, I got a new phone. Can you hear me okay on the phone? Pete said to me, John, we can hear you okay without the phone. Listen, at the time, I didn't think it was quite so funny, but I did. I think it's funny now. What if you're too loud? What are some of the things that can happen if you're too loud in a presentation? How could that be interpreted? Talk to me. Anybody can drop a note in the comments. Thank you, Paul. You're a rock star. But what I was going to say is, when you are too loud in a situation, how can people interpret that? What do you think? I'll make a suggestion. Here you go. So, because I've literally experienced it, here's the situation. I can still remember. Oh, this happened Friday night. I'm sorry. This happened Friday night. So this is not a long ago, far away story. You watch the reaction of someone listening to you as to, are you too loud? I'm literally leaving an event with my sister Denise, and if she's listening today, thank you, love you, and thank you. And I said something in the car, and she literally did this. If somebody does that when you're speaking, something's up. That face tells you everything. When you're too loud with volume, regardless of how excited you are, this is great, I can't wait to share it. Here's my proposed solution. Here you go. Not everybody is there thinking, oh, he's just excited and I should be excited too. So your tip number 2 is you're watching the volume, because people never want to be yelled at. We can get very psychological here with the second tip and remind people, did you like being yelled at as a kid? Are you holding in any issues of healing your inner child? You hear this a lot now. By the way, this presentation has nothing to do with that. do know that. There are experts way more qualified than me in the psychological field, but I draw on it. The tip is you want to make certain your volume matches the audience. A little bit louder because they need to hear you. The people in the back need to hear you, but nobody wants to be screamed at, okay? Being screamed at sounds exactly like that. Does anybody like being yelled at this point? Anybody for any reason? No, absolutely not. The fact of the matter is that you just want to be spoken to. You want to be spoken to. Leadership in a business realm, whether it's by presenting, whether it's leading your teams, whether it is coaching your teams, you're never leading by yelling. Even if you're excited, I rarely yell at anybody for any reason. But you're not expected to know that. If I'm talking at a really high volume, and it has happened, well, if I'm speaking at a really high volume, people are interpreting, and you don't want interpretation. You don't. This is not art, like paintings, like music. Oh, it's entirely up to them. No, the intention here is you want to get your intended message delivered, received, interpreted the way that you had hoped, right? So, tip number 2, too loud volume. Just watch yourself. Here's the thing. Often we overcompensate to think we've got to project to the last row. Use your technology correctly, number 1. If you have access to a mic, test it before. If you're on Zoom, you can do tests for your mic and your volume. If you're in a conference room speaking to clients or your team, simply ask them. There's something really disarming about somebody who says, hey, look, I don't want to act like I'm yelling here. I got a lot of fun things I want to talk about, but I want to make sure I'm not screaming at you. Can everybody hear me okay and not too much, right? Think of the old, what is it? Goldilocks, too little, too much, just right? Or is it too hot, too cold, just right? One of those. Well, you want to just get the buy-in of the audience, whether the audience is one person, phone call, right? One person, a couple of people, conference room, classroom, boardroom, theater, any of those. The bigger the room, the more important this is to regulate volume, but you have more tech involved to help you. So that's where the mics help. Do the mic checks, make sure everything is working. You can't check too often, okay? So to repeat first, the too little volume, use your body a little bit, right? Number 1 tip of too little volume, want an easy solve? Let your body work for you, right? Literally, bring your chest back a little bit. If you're seated like I am at this moment, sit back a little bit, right? Bring your chest out a little bit. Allow the airflow to naturally come to your through your vocal folds, vocal cords, out through your larynx and out through your throat, because you're speaking naturally. We've talked in prior trainings about finding your middle voice. The reason the middle voice is so damn helpful is because you go at a much more comfortable volume, right? We've talked about warm and engaging, and that's all true, that middle voice. But your volume is so much more easily regulated than when you are all scrunched up trying to talk and then try to force volume out of your voice, or whether you are talking as if you were hey, I'm a Philadelphia fan. Eagles are playing tonight, go Birds. And it's like, if I'm screaming at a football game, well, that's expected. But screaming at your audience isn't, okay? So the too little, too much. And my tip number 3, to get it right, read the room. Read the room. It is really important. And how do you read a room? The best way you can read a room is do not, and the way that I call it is this: don't bring your 11 o'clock appointment to your 12 o'clock call. What do I mean? One of the reasons it is so important to put mini breaks to tweak your mindset, your physicality. One of the reasons it's so important to put those mini breaks in place, 5 minutes, say, right, is because all of the momentum that was secured from your last phone call, last meeting. Here, let me ask you a question. Anybody can pipe in or drop a note in the comments or just think about it, right? Who uses a calendar? It's Monday, September the 25th. Who uses a calendar? I do. So does pretty much everyone I know, right? I think it pretty well goes understood that calendars can be helpful, right? So what can happen with calendars? Personal development, personal business, business, family business, all of your good intentions, all in a perfect world, get dumped into your calendar. And then you start doing them, right? So I'm going to make up a couple of things. 8 a.m. Again, just making them up. 8 a.m. personal growth. I'm going to read, meditate, drink my water, stretch, all those things. 9 a.m. team meeting. I'm leading the team meeting at 9 a.m. 10 a.m. client phone call. I go to the client phone call. 11 a.m. I've got to handle a new business situation that was kind of blowing up. And I got to solve this problem, and I can't wait until the afternoon. 12 noon, I'm going to lead a live stream in terms of how to communicate. 1 p.m., I'm going to follow up with a client that is threatening to cancel. Okay. You're not expected to remember all of those things, right? That doesn't even matter. My point is a lot of things tend to blur together. Why does it impact your voice? I'm going to repeat a line that I've shared before from Dave Walsh. He is not only a renowned voiceover coach, but he's a renowned business voice coach. He does what I do. One of the things that he talks about, his company is called The True Tell, and he talks about your voice being the last pass of all information. So if that 11 o'clock call, like for instance, if I remember correctly, my 8 a.m. was all getting myself together so I could lead a team meeting at 9 o'clock, fire the team up, get everybody ready to go. They probably went okay. Then I've got a client call that I've got to get, and I've got to be ready for that, and I've got to be on and talking, and it might be a back and forth. And then the 11 a.m. is a problem situation, and now I've got to come right in and start this call. It's not just that you can be ill-prepared. It's that you can sound ill-prepared. So if I'm bringing the problems from the 11 a.m. call into my next communication, if I am anticipating a possible cancellation of business in my 1 p.m. call, how do you think I would sound? If I'm dragging all this in along for the ride, I need a couple of extra seats because I got to bring my 1 p.m. problem needs to sit right there with me. Oh, and my 11 a.m. that's a challenge because they're freaked out. I need to have them sit in the aisle too. How do you think someone sounds? Hurried, rushed, yeah, ill-prepared. Do you know what one of the worst things that impact your voice? The science backs it up, but the reality makes it even easier. Fear. Fear can wreck your voice. Everyone can hear fear. Everyone knows what it is when there's a problem. So the real problem, though, is fear sounds a lot like harried, hurried, busy. Fear can sound as if you're racing through the motions. But I don't know that you're literally just racing from the 11 a.m. call to the 12 noon call, going to the 1 p.m. call. We used to do that in corporate America all the time. We are driving to meetings and got our phone on, and we're doing the conference call on the way over, and we're running into the client's office and hurriedly setting up equipment. Look, here's the problem. If the audience, the client, whoever you're speaking with in that specific situation, in that moment, really thought, oh, they had a problem at 11 a.m. and they're going to have a big client situation at 1 p.m. That's why they sound so harried. They might give you the benefit of the doubt, and they might think, well, what the hell's that got to do with me? Right? So here's the tip. When I say don't bring your 11 a.m. to the 12 noon meeting, and certainly leave the 1 p.m. in the car, the tip is this: give yourself at least 3 to 5 minutes to get yourself together, right? There are a ton of mini physical hacks that you can do. Again, use your body. Stand up, stretch, grab your water, walk away from the desk for a moment if you're in electronic heaven or hell, right? If you are in person, pace the parking lot for a second. Don't go racing into the office. And most importantly, give yourself enough time when you're scheduling meetings to make certain that you are factoring in this get it together 5 minutes. It's allowing your body and your mind to calm a little bit. We've talked about Navy SEALs breathing technique before. This is one of the reasons you do it. Because again, you don't want to be lugging in all that past situation of worry and or angst and or whatever. You want to be able to speak as if this is the only conversation that matters. Because folks, to your audience, it's the only conversation that matters. 1 person, 2 people, 4 people, boardroom, theater. They don't care about what happened earlier in the day. They don't care about what's going to happen later that afternoon or 2 weeks from now. They do care about what you're saying to them in that moment, which is why in order to regulate your voice, you're going to regulate your mind and regulate your body so that you are in a position to sound your truest, most authentic, accurate best. So, tip number 3, budget a few minutes between calls. I'll make one exception. If you do, for instance, look, anybody in business often is talking about lead generation and new business, and obviously it's the heart of business success, bringing in clients. If you're in a rhythm in terms of making, say, new business calls, maybe you don't stop after each call. Maybe you just get them all done. But my thought is, for important meetings and communications and conversations, what you want to be able to do is break for a couple of minutes and be cognizant of how you sound. You've worked so hard to have all of the material ready. None of this, by the way, none of my coaching techniques excuses lack of prep or poor performance or not doing homework. That's a mandate in my coaching world and in my business world. You do the homework, you do the work, you have everything together. The reminder, folks, these 3 tips and every tip that I've been presenting and will present have to do with making certain that all that hard work is rewarded. You can't control how someone's going to decide to do something. You kind of can't. You think you can. You kind of can't. But what you can control is making certain that everything you intend to do is done. And it's more than just having your slides ready and your objections handled. It's the way that you say it, because people have to buy it. If you're too loud and you're screaming at people, they're going to feel put off. Oh, this is tough. This is rough. You see, I literally saw a face from my sister Denise. I knew I better back the volume down, right? Check your tech. Use your volume control. Ask somebody, hey, am I speaking okay? If you're too whispery and soft, you don't want that either, except for fleeting moments. Why? You don't want people to work so hard to hear you. A lot of people don't work that hard, right? No shot at them. It's up to me to get the engagement, I believe. So how do I do it? I'm at a proper volume. And 3, don't rush yourself through calls and appointments and meetings. Give yourself at least 2-3 minutes to get it together. 5 is even better. Recalibrate your body, right? We're going to talk about physicality in the next in a future session, but regulate your body, get your mind a little bit more accurate, focus for a minute or two, get yourself in check so that when you're speaking, you're going to crush the situation. Too loud? Nah, I got it solved. I'll make certain that when I water the plants, I'm speaking to people, and I'll do that. Too soft, read the room. Make certain that you're not whispery and ineffective. And lastly, critically important, as I said, give yourself the benefit, the time to produce appropriately. Give yourself the chance to win. So, folks, if anyone has any questions in regards to today, I'd love it, and I'd love to hear them, right? But here's what I'm also going to say. I'll make this easy for you, too. You want to find me? You want to ask a question? If you would like to book a 30-minute discovery call, that's my offer, by the way, for today. You're showing up, you're speaking, you've contributed, live or replay. See that QR code? The fact of the matter is that QR code gets you to me. A 30-minute discovery call, either go to the QR code, hello, or I'll make it easy for you again. Should have had this typed out and I didn't, but that's okay. Easy enough for me to do. I'm glad I know it, which is this. In the comments, there's my email address, jd@duffinmedia.com. Again, that's jd@duffinmedia.com. Send me an email, 30-minute discovery call. It's all yours for the offering. We will talk about anything specific that you want to talk about. And again, that QR code gets you to me, all my socials, all my addresses, all that stuff. It's all yours. Folks, I am really grateful that you showed up today on this first day of the 4-day blitz. We're ready to roll with more tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I got a phone call coming in. That's not why I'm jumping off the phone. But the fact of the matter is, I'm jumping off the phone. Teams plenty. So, folks, have a wonderful day. John Duffin, Duffin Media, Duffin Coaching. Have the best day, and I will see you very soon. Hey, Paul, thank you for that. That means a lot to me. I am showing this before I go. All right, be well. Have a wonderful day, all. Bye.